23rd of July, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
We got up to the Rashi Kevan. Where is that? Kevan to Tofis Bay. Hi Sudra. We're talking about the Sudra. Okay, why are we talking about the Sudra? Because we're talking about the difference between the Brisa and the Mishnah. The Mishnah doesn't mention anything about, it just says Yachloku, divide the talus between them. Whereas the Brisa says each one takes up to where his ad mokum sheyadu magas, up to where the place where his hand reaches on the talus, because his hand is holding on to the talus. The Gemora, Rav Papa said, oh, but in case of the Mishnah, tfise bekar kashasa, his hands are not holding on to the body of the talus, they're holding on to the fringes at the ends of the talus. And then we go from Karkashasa to Rev Marsh to Rev Mesharshia. Karkashasa to Mesharshia. And he tells us, Rev Mesharshia, Shmamina, Hi Sudra. So this brisa is instructive to us about the din of a Kenyan Sudar. Okay, now, so that's where we're holding. And where is this? This is Hi Sudra. It's the first words on the line about, I would say about 22 lines up from the bottom of the page. Hi Sudra. And before that, we have Rav Amar Rav Mesharshia. Shin Mem, Shmamina. We hear out this brisa about the din of a Kenyan Sudar.
7A2, right hand column, couple of lines down. 2, 3, 4 lines down, 2 or 3 lines down. Second.
Oh, I wonder if there's a connection between the fact, Adi Gemora brought this up, because in regard to the Kenyan of the talus, they're not really holding on to the, oh, no, that's something else. Okay, that's talking about the brisa. The brisa, they are holding on to the talus. Okay, so anyway, strike that. Okay, so the Gemora has said, Hi Sudra Kavan to Tofis Bay Shlosh al Shalosh. Since this Sudra, he's the one that wants to be Kona. The item that's been purchased, the item that's being acquired, when he holds on to this Sudar, Shalosh al Shalosh. So Karin and Bay. So on that we say Nasan l'Re'eu. He is hereby given this item over to his fellow. Command pasik dami v'kani. Oh, and that means what? Command pasik dami. Command pasik dami. Command pasik dami v'kani. That constitutes the Kenyan of the item in question. Okay. let's take a look at. We have well, let's start from the let's start from where from got a number of small Rashis over here. Let's start from the Shin Mem, Shma Mina. And Shin Mem, that really should take us back to the Rashi before that, the Karkashasa, which is talking about the Hutim. Tfise Bekarkashasa. They're grabbing on to the Hutim. The threads that are coming out from the talus, from both ends of the garment. Oh, so that din teaches us Shma Mina. Where do we learn that? Okay, so let's start reading from Rashi, Shin Mem Shma Mina. And this should be a few lines down from your Gillian Shas. In the middle of the Rashi column, beginning of the line, Shin Mem.
Actually, it's short. I'll read it. Midikatane ad makom shiado migas kane lo. From that which we learned until the place of his hand, which reaches the place that his hand reaches, he acquires it.
Right. So from the fact that the Brisa teaches us that his kinyan is according to the place where his hand reaches on the talus that he's holding onto. From the fact that the Brisa teaches us that Shman Mina, we're going to learn out a principle in the din of Sudra, in the din of the Kinyan Sudra. Okay, what are we going to learn out? So now we go to the next Rashi, Hi Sudra.
Belkona Shekonin Kanui Lo.
Oh, Kinyan.
I'm sorry, Bo Kinyan. This kerchief of the acquisition, that he acquires it through acquisition.
Okay, this is a bit tricky. Hi Sudra, Shel Kona. Konin Bokinyan. The Sudra is the thing that one of them gives to the other one in consideration of the and it actually accomplishes a kinyan of the Sudra itself. And when he's coming to acquire this item in question, let's say they're acquiring a table, and so he gives this Sudar to the one who wants to, who's acquiring the table. He gives him this suder, so that it's like the giving over of this suder represents the fact that he's giving over to him to acquire the table. Now, how do we see that in the words of Rashi? It's not so simple. Hai sudra shel koine, shekonin bo kinyan. The sudar of the kona, the one who is going to acquire it, the table, shekonin bo, that he acquires that table, kinyan. I don't know. I don't see it in the words of Rashi. Rashi's words are difficult for me. I can't translate them. I don't know. Okay, let's see what he says. Maybe the next Rashi will help us out. We got two more Rashis. Rashi's got a lot of more words to say. Maybe we'll be able to figure out this enigmatic high sudra. Kevin the toughest bay.
Kevin the toughest bay, since he's grabbing it. Shekana shalosh al shalosh, since he acquires a 3x3. That's the size. Korean berry called to him. Shetsaf. Shetsaf ish. I don't know what Shetsaf ish is.
Shalosh al shalosh, Korean bay, the sholaf. This is a word of the pasuk.
Ish nimtso benatan lereto. If the man finds it and gives it to his friend.
Shalaf ish nalo. The man removes his shoe, v'nosan l're'eu, and he gives it to his fellow. That's the I'm reading from the second pasuk in the Torah or Hasholim. That's the pasuk that the Gemora is quoting, and Rashi. That one word is a word that's used in the pasuk, means to remove. Okay. Okay. The toughest bay. Makne shalosh al shalosh. Karina Bay. So there's two things that we're describing. We're describing the makna. There's two people over here. There's two people that Rashi is referring to. One is called the Kona, the one who is acquiring it, and one's called the Makna. He's the one who is causing the other one to acquire it. We would call him the seller. Kona and Makna. So now Rashi's referring to the Makna. Kevan the toughest bay Makna, the one who's causing him to acquire the table, since he is holding on to the sudar shalosh al shalosh, an area which is 3 by 3. I think we're talking about the fingers, 3 fingers worth, 3 fingers worth. Since he does that, Karina Bay v'shalaf ish nalo v'nasan l're'eu. So that constitutes a fulfillment of what it says in the pasuk in Rus about the that the ish removed his shoe and gave it over to his fellow, which was the kinyan in the in Megillus Rus. We should really look at the pasuk in Rus. How about doing that? Let's get a Megillus Rus, and we'll see a little bit more about the connection between this Kinyan Sudar and the pasuk in Megillus Rus. Be able to understand something. Be'ez Hashem.
So you know what, when you look at the time, you're gonna let me know what the difference is. Maybe it's reading nothing. Okay. Maybe it's something. Okay, fine, no, I'm saying when you get here. No, we're just gonna leave it. Okay, yes. Oh, yeah, this is a new one that they recently added. Great. Wow. That's pretty impressive. Right, that's fun, awesome. Okay, good. Okay, listen. Topic 5.
Okay, so
It's 18:7.
what's that?
Chapter 18, pasuk 7.
Which chapter?
Sorry, chapter 4, pasuk 7.
Okay. Oh, maybe this number was not a good idea here. Oh. Yeah. Zos lifnim beYisrael ala geula ve'ala tamura l'kayim kol davar. This was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redemption and exchange. To make a transaction. This is that's pasuk Zion. Shlaf ish nalo. A man would remove his shoe, and give to his fellow. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's what the pasuk says. So over here, in the story of Megillus Rus over here, so Ploni Almoni is telling Boaz he's not prepared to take Rus. He wanted to buy the field, but Boaz made the redemption of the field contingent upon redeeming Rus as well. That's what the story was over here. Okay, well, I don't want to make it any more complicated than it already is. So Yomer Agoel LeBoaz Kanei Lecha Vishlof Naalo. So the Goel said to Boaz, Kanei Lecha, acquire it. And he took off his shoe. Now, mind you, it doesn't say in the pasuk who took off his shoe, whether it was referring to Boaz that took off his shoe, whether it was referring to the Ploni Almoni that took off his shoe. That's what is getting a bit confusing over here, I think.
Well, wouldn't it be the Ploni Almoni because he's the one who really wants to do? It's sort of like the Chalitza type of situation that he's releasing her to let her go to Boaz instead. Because Ploni Almoni was supposed to be the first shot at redemption.
Looking over here at the Altshich Harvest of Majesty, how he explains the situation. See, the truth of the matter is this is what the Altshich mentions over here, and this is further on in the Gemora in Bava Metzia, 47a. There's a well-known discussion between two Amoraim as to whose article is used to strike the deal. In our case, the article was a shoe. That's what the pasuk says. He says, acquire it for yourself. Ploni Almoni said to Boaz, so acquire it for yourself. And then the pasuk says, and he, whoever he is, took off his shoe. Well, who's he over here? So the Gemora in Bava Metzia brings the machlokes over here on this matter. This is a machlokes between Rav and Levi. Rav holds that it has to belong to the one who is acquiring the object. So that would be Boaz. But Levi says no. It has to belong to the giver or the seller. And then the Altshich concedes. It's in our verse, it's not clear whose shoe is being used. And who is using the shoe. Neither one of those things are clear. And he says it's possible that there was a difference of opinion between the kinsmen, meaning the Ploni Almoni and Boaz, on this very point. Maybe the two of them in the story, they themselves were contending over this matter itself. Okay, so I don't want to complicate things, though. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure. I think Rashi is revealing to us when he uses the word Makta and Kona, how he himself is going in this matter. Whether he's going like, I'm trying to figure out, is he going like Rav, who says that the shoe or the suitor. In other words, what we're talking about, the suitor is the shoe in the story in Rus. Instead of a suitor, they used the shoe.
So when Rashi
Um,
says Shel Kona, doesn't that mean it's Boaz?
yeah, that's what I first thought. Here, where? Hi, Suda Shokona, Rashi identifies. Shokonin bo kinyan, that he uses to make the acquisition. So he's using his own Suder to make the acquisition of the item. Kevin the toughest bay makna, since the seller holds on to it, shalosh al shlosh, Karina Bay, that constitutes a fulfillment of, we call it shlaf ish nalova nasan re'eu. He took off his shoe and he gave it to his friend. That's what's confusing me. That sounds like you're saying that the one who's taking off the shoe and giving it to his friend is the makna, the one who's not Boaz, but the one who's doing the selling or the giving. Anyway, Kevin the toughest bay shalosh al shalosh, Karina bay v'nosan l're'eyu. The command the pasik dami v'koni. Command the pas. Oh, so we didn't read this Rashi yet. Rashi's got more to say over here. He's mentioning the pasuk in Rus as well. So let's take a look at this. We got one more chance to try to figure out what Rashi's saying over here. Hopefully with this Rashi, everything will fall in place.
Amen.
The command the pasuk dummy.
Let's see where I was up to. Wait a second. I'm losing my place here. I had it before. To command the pussy let dummy.
Yeah.
The one that pussy. It's similar. What's pussy?
Command the psik dummy, the
The
koni.
one who makes it.
I guess that he
who makes a judgment on it. Psik. No, it says cutting off. It's the one who cuts it. It says
the one that cuts the deal.
the one that cuts
He
it.
concludes the acquisition
of a kaniya, and it's acquired not from the purchase. The hamocher, the seller, is acquires it from the purchaser. The dafka, and it was specifically chosen nakat shalosh al shalosh. It had to be 3 by 3. To cleave the enim, we needed to be like a vessel, something, utensil, and that's a 3. You need at least to be 3 by 3 to be considered a utensil. Dixiv na'alo, his shoe, ubatsir me shalosh etzbaot. Seer is to do with whatchamacallit.
Butzir, butz means less than.
What?
Butzir mishalosh, less than 3 etzbos. Here Rashi identifies that the shlosh is referring to fingers.
Okay, with this less than 3 by 3 etzbaot, lav beged It's not considered a garment.
Right.
The owner that we find gabe tuma in relation to tuma.
Right. Okay, so Rashi's going into a whole dissertation over here about why it's sholosh al sholosh. It was not what I wanted, but that's what Rashi wanted to say. Okay. he's command the pasuk dummy. The kanya makna, and the acquirer has acquired. A mecher niknabo, and the acquired item has duly been acquired to the lokeach, to the purchaser. That's what we're saying over here. To command the pasuk dummy, it's the deal has been cut. It's considered at that point that the deal has been cut. The item has been sold. It now is officially sold to the purchaser. That's what okay. So that's what Rashi. That's what the how's Rashi's explaining these words. The command the pasuk dummy v'koni. Once he grabs on the makna, was it? Is grabbing on to the sudar, this amount of the sudar, sholosh al sholosh etzbos, so that already constitutes a fulfillment of the pasuk in Rus, which we know that the pasuk in Rus was teaching us about this Kenyan sudar, that constitutes a proper Kenyan, according to Torah, of the item in question. Nosan shlaf ish nalo, but nosan l're'eu. He takes his shoe and he gives it to his fellow. And in the pasuk in Rus, the article, the kli that was used was a shoe, but it doesn't have to be a shoe. You don't have to get your hands dirty. You could use, if you want, you could use a sudar. You don't have to get your hands dirty with a shoe. You could use a sudar. You could use a kerchief. So that's the Kenyan sudar. And okay. And that's a Shema Mina, says Rav Sharshia. Oh, so what it sounds like, how is this working exactly? So Mishashi is saying that we see from this, where in the case of the Brisa, where they are, both of them, they're grabbing onto the talis, and they're grabbing on. We say they by virtue they're grabbing on up to the place where they grab on. That's the place that they acquire. So Rav Misharshi is saying he finds an allusion to that. He finds that if that's that would be a manifestation of the Kenyan sudar, meaning that that's what's happening by Kenyan sudar as well. Since the person is which one are we going to say? Rashi said it was the makna. The makna is the one who is the seller, the giver over. Since he's going to grab on to that amount of the sudar, sholosh al sholosh etzbos, so we call that that's like he took his shoe, he took it off and he gave it to his friend. So and that's the acquisition. That represents when they do that act represents the official formal and conclusive acquisition of the item that they agreed upon to acquire. Okay. That's okay. So that's what we got to say about that.
Talis to the other one?
What's what?
Does that mean that one of them has to give the talis to the other one?
Oh, so right. So In other words, in the case of the Rus, one gave the whole thing over to the other one, and the other one acquired it. Over here, we're saying that by the virtue of the fact that each one of them is holding on, so they're going to get up to the place where they were holding on. But they're not giving it to the other one. So it seems very doesn't seem it seems very dissimilar, actually. Now that you mention it.
Yeah,
And apparently they do that, and what's left over they divide equally. It says here. The other takes as far as his hand extends, and the rest of the cloak is divided equally between them. That's Rav Tachlifa from taught the following brisa from before Reb Abahu. If two litigants enter the court clutching a coat, this one takes as far as his hand extends, the other takes as far as his hand extends, and the rest of the cloak is divided equally between them. But only with an oath, says Rav Tachlifa.
Well, this is. What's in his hand is Keilu, it's cut off from the rest of the Sudar and acquired.
according to the footnote number 17, Rashi holds that the object is passed from the buyer to the seller.
Yeah, that's what that's what Rashi said in Kavan, the toughest bay, Makna. The Makna was holding on to this Sudar, and so that we call that Shalaf Ish Nalo. He removes his shoe and gives it to him, so that he would be referring to the Makna, to the seller. The seller is giving the Sudar to the buyer.
According to this, it's the opposite.
What does it say again?
It is a matter of dispute whether the token object is passed from the buyer to the seller or vice versa. Rashi here follows the former view.
What's the former view?
The buyer to the seller.
Yeah, that's what I said. Makna. Rashi says Makna, since
The makna is the buyer.
no, not right. Makna is the seller.
Okay.
Kona is the seller. Kona is the buyer. Kona is the buyer. He's Kona, and Makna is the one that causes him. The mem is causative, and the Makna is the one that causes the sale to take place. He's the seller. But when I Okay, this is now I have another suffix. When we say that he's holding on to it, given the toughest bay. Rashi's identifying the one who's toughest bay, the one that's grabbing onto the sudar, as the makna, the seller. So then he says Karina bay, that we call the what it says in the pasuk. Shlaf ishnalo b'nosayu. Rashi used the word. What my question was when we say that Kevin the toughest bay, since he's grabbing onto it, do we mean to refer to the one who's receiving the shoe, or do we mean to refer to the one who's taking off his shoe and he's grabbing onto it and he's giving it over to the other one? Who's the one in the Gemora that says since he grabbed on to the sudar, shalosh al shalosh? Rashi identifies him as the makna, the seller. But I want to know, is that seller, is he the one, is he when he's grabbing on to this shoe or to this sudar, is he grabbing onto it to give it, or is he grabbing onto it to receive it from the one who's giving it to him? That's my question. I don't think it's clear. Because there's a machlokes, but in the Gemora, who's the one that's got to? Rav says it's got to belong to the one who's acquiring it. Levi says it's got to belong to the one who's giving it or selling it. Now the one who it belongs to, he's obviously the one who's taking it off his foot, right? He's taking it off his foot and he's giving it to the other guy. But who's that guy who's taking the shoe off his foot? That's a machlokes, Rav and Levi. All right, we're out of time.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Saved by the bell.
Okay, take care.
Okay, everybody, have an excellent tinus.
Have a good time, yes.
Amen.
Yeah.